Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are opening a door that a lot of us, and I'm definitely including myself here, usually prefer to keep, double bolted.
Oh, yeah. This is one of those topics.
It really is. We're talking about the one concept that seems to be the dividing line between I wish I could and, well, I actually did.
It's the concept that makes everything else work. You can have all the talent in the world, you can have the education, the smartest business plan.
Right.
But without this one specific ingredient, the engine just doesn't turn over. It just sputters.
We are talking about self-discipline. Specifically, we are unpacking No Excuses, The Power of Self-Discipline by Brian Tracy.
A classic.
It is, but I have to be honest with you right off the bat. When I saw this title on our stack, I had this visceral reaction.
I can guess what it was.
It felt like a finger wagging in my face, you know? It felt like a high school football coach yelling at me to do more laps.
That is the common reaction. It's almost universal. We hear discipline, and we immediately think punishment.
Deprivation, right?
Exactly. We think deprivation. We imagine living on a diet of, kale and cold showers, never having any fun, and just rigidly sticking to a schedule that sucks all the joy out of life.
Yes. It sounds absolutely miserable. But as I started reading Tracy's work for this, I realized my definition was, it was completely backward.
He flips it on its head.
He really does. He's not framing discipline as punishment at all. He's framing it as, well, almost as a cheat code.
It's the master key. That's the term he uses. It's the tool that unlocks the door to personal freedom.
And that's the paradox, isn't it?
It is the central paradox. We think discipline restricts our freedom, but Tracy argues that discipline is the only thing that actually guarantees it.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you lack discipline, you are a complete slave. You're a slave to your impulses, to your moods, to your circumstances, to the path of least resistance.
So the mission for this deep dive, then, is to flip that script. We want to move from just having good intentions.
Which we all have.
Oh, we all have fantastic intentions. But we want to move from that to actual concrete results. We want to figure out why some people with, seemingly average talent achieve massive success, while other people who are geniuses just end up stagnating.
And just to set the stakes here, Tracy calls this the common denominator of success.
The common denominator.
It is the one single thing that every successful person has in common, no matter what field they're in.
Okay, so let's jump right into the metaphor that, for me, hits the hardest. I think everyone listening will recognize this place immediately. Tracy talks about this vacation spot he calls Someday Isle.
Ah, yes. The most crowded island in the world.
I think I have a timeshare there. I'm pretty sure of it.
Most of us do, or at least we've visited frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Someday Isle is that really seductive mental space where we store all our potential.
Right. It's someday I'll write that novel.
Someday I'll get in shape.
Someday I'll finally start investing.
Someday I'll learn to speak Italian. It's an endless list.
And it sounds lovely, doesn't it? I mean, it's a place of just infinite possibility because you haven't actually failed at anything yet.
That's the trap.
You're just waiting.
But the tragedy, according to Tracy, is that something like 80% of the population effectively lives there permanently. They set up camp and they never leave.
80%? That's a staggering number.
It is. And they're surrounded by neighbors who are also on the island. And what happens when you're surrounded by other people who are also putting off their dream?
You validate each other. It becomes normal.
It becomes completely normal. It's the social trap.
You're sitting on the beach on Someday Isle, sipping a drink, saying, I'm going to start that business next year for sure.
And your neighbor says, oh, totally. The economy's terrible right now anyway. You're so smart to wait.
Exactly. And that's the infection Tracy calls excusitis.
I love that term. Excusitis. It's the inflammation of the excuse-making gland. And it is fatal to success.
It was the local language on Someday Isle. Everyone speaks it fluently.
Everyone. They all have a reason why they're there. I didn't have a happy childhood, or my education wasn't good enough.
My boss hates me. I'm too old.
I'm too young.
Yeah.
The excuses are endless and often contradictory.
It's the yeah, but syndrome. I would totally do that, yeah, but I just don't have the time right now.
And here's the brutal truth that Tracy just drops like a hammer.
What's that?
No one cares.
Wow.
That sounds incredibly harsh, but the universe is completely indifferent to your reasons. The first rule of success If you want to leave that 80% and join the top 20%, if you have to vote yourself off the island.
You have to vote yourself off, not wait for an invitation.
Nobody is coming to rescue you. There is no ferry service from Someday Isle to the mainland of accomplishment.
That's a powerful image.
You have to look at your excuses, really look at them, and realize they are just lies you tell yourself to feel comfortable with stagnation.
So what's the first step to doing that?
Tracy says you should take your specific excuse. Let's say it's, I didn't go to a good college. And you have to find someone, just one person, who had that exact same handicap but succeeded anyway.
And there's always someone. Always.
Always. There's always an example. If they did it, your excuse is immediately invalid.
And once your excuse is invalid,
You're left with the terrifying, liberating reality that you are the only thing standing in your way.
that is terrifying. It removes that buffer between you and the truth.
It does.
So if we're voting ourselves off the island, we need a really clear definition of what we're doing instead. What is the core definition of self-discipline in this book?
He quotes the writer Elbert Hubbard, and this is a definition you should probably write on your bathroom mirror. It's that good.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hubbard said, self-discipline is the ability to do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not.
Whew. It's that last part, whether you feel like it or not, that really twists the knife.
It's the only part that matters. Think about it. Anyone can do the work when they're motivated. Anyone can go to the gym on January 1st when they're all pumped up about New Year's resolutions.
Sure.
Anyone can work late on a project when they're feeling inspired and the coffee is hitting just right. That's not discipline. That's just riding a wave of emotion.
So what is discipline then?
Discipline is what happens on a rainy Tuesday in November when you are tired, the project is boring, and Netflix is calling your name. That's the moment of truth.
Tracy sets up this dichotomy. He calls it the success principle versus the failure principle.
Yeah.
It feels like a battle between our future selves and our present selves.
That is exactly what it is. The failure principle is just the path of least resistance. It's what he calls the expediency factor.
The expediency factor.
As human beings, we are evolutionarily wired to conserve energy and seek immediate pleasure. It helped us survive on the savannah.
Right. Don't waste calories unless you have to.
Precisely. So if you just go with the flow, if you do what comes naturally to you, you will fail. Because what comes naturally is what is fun and easy and comfortable right now.
So you're saying success is unnatural.
In a way, yes. Success requires you to consciously override your biological programming. It's an act of rebellion against your own instincts.
He uses the metaphor of dinner before dessert.
This one is so simple and so perfect.
It stuck with me because I have a massive sweet tooth.
Well, think about little kids. If you let them, what will they eat first?
The cake. Every single time.
Of course. Why? Because it tastes good now. But if they eat the cake, they ruin their appetite for the nutritious food, the protein and vegetables that they actually need to grow.
Makes sense.
Successful people have the discipline to delay that gratification. They eat the dinner, the hard, sometimes bland, sometimes difficult work, before they allow themselves the dessert of relaxation or entertainment.
And the people stuck on Someday Isle.
They're eating dessert for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Metaphorically speaking.
They're scrolling TikTok for 3 hours before they've even answered their important emails. They're buying the new car on credit before they've fully funded their 401k. They're taking the easy pleasure now.
Which guarantees a difficult life later.
Exactly. It's that trade-off. Easy now, hard later. Or the path of discipline. Hard now, easy later.
That choice, hard now or easy now, seems to be the fundamental fork in the road.
It is. And this leads us to the broader psychology of success. Tracy brings up the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. We hear about this in economics, but he applies it directly to human performance.
This is the idea that the top 20% of the people in any given field earn 80% of the money.
And enjoy 80% of the rewards, the satisfaction, the promotions, all of it. It's a stark, and for many, an uncomfortable reality.
It shows up everywhere.
Look at any sales team. 20% of the salespeople are making 80% of the commissions. Look at authors. 20% of them sell 80% of the books. It's a law of nature.
So Tracy's argument is that you have to make a conscious decision. You have to say, I am going to join that top 20%.
You have to decide. It's not something you drift into.
But isn't that just luck or raw talent? Some people are just born with the right stuff, born into the 20%.
Some are, sure.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. But Tracy falls back on what he calls the iron law of the universe.
Which is?
The law of cause and effect. He argues that success is not an accident. It's not like winning the lottery. It is a result. and effect.
So if you can figure out the cause.
If you do the things that the top 20% do over and over and over again, you will eventually get the same results they get. It is a law, like gravity.
You reap what you sow.
It's the great law, as he calls it. You cannot sow laziness and procrastination and expect to harvest a crop of success and achievement. It's agriculturally and personally impossible.
And this is where character comes in. Discipline isn't just a tool for making more money. He frames it as the forge of character.
Yes, it's how you build a personality of substance. He talks about humans as choosing organisms.
We're constantly at a fork in the road, every single minute.
Every minute of every day. Right now, as you're listening to this, you have a choice. Focus on what we're saying or pick up your phone and check your notifications.
Guilty.
Tonight, you'll have a choice. Cook a healthy meal or order a pizza. Read a book that will grow your mind or watch reality TV. Every one of those choices is a conflict between a higher value and a lower value.
And the lower value is always easier. It's always more comfortable.
Always. And it's always faster. The pizza's faster than cooking.
Right.
The TV is easier than the book. But every time you choose the higher value, the harder path, you are essentially synthesizing character.
He has a really interesting analogy for this, the Petri dish.
The crystal analogy is brilliant. Imagine you have a Petri dish filled with chemicals in a liquid form. They're just sloshing around shapeless.
Okay.
Then you apply intense heat. What happens? The heat forces those chemicals to bond and crystallize into a hard, structured, beautiful form.
And the discipline is the heat.
Discipline is the heat. Without the heat of self-discipline, forcing yourself to do the hard thing when you don't feel like it, your personality remains liquid, mushy, undefined.
You become a person of soft character.
Exactly. But with the heat, with the consistent application of discipline, you crystallize into a person of integrity, a person of strength.
This reminds me so much of the story he tells, the Cherokee parable of the two wolves. I've heard this story before, but in this specific context, it really hit home for me.
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
It frames the internal battle perfectly.
Can you walk us through it?
Sure. The grandfather tells his grandson, "There is a terrible fight going on inside me. It is a fight between two wolves.
Right.
One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego."
That is a heavy list. That's basically the someday I'll wolf, the wolf of excuses.
It is. And the grandfather continues, "The other wolf is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith."
A much better wolf.
A much better wolf.
Yeah.
And, he says, the same fight is going on inside you.
And the grandson, of course, asks the obvious question, which wolf will win?
And the grandfather gives that simple, profound answer: the one you feed.
The one you feed.
Every single time you make an excuse, you are feeding the evil wolf. You're making him stronger. Every time you discipline yourself to do the hard thing anyway, you are feeding the good wolf.
So you are literally engaging in the selective breeding of your own character every single day with every choice you make.
That's a perfect way to put it. You are deciding which wolf gets stronger tomorrow.
But doing that, feeding the good wolf when the bad wolf is barking so much louder, that requires what Tracy calls radical responsibility. And this is the part where I think a lot of people, myself included, really struggle. It's easy to say take responsibility, but when you're in a tough situation, it can feel so unfair.
It can feel incredibly unfair. And Tracy uses his own rock bottom moment to illustrate this point perfectly.
Tell me about that.
He was a young man, I think around 21. He was working as a construction laborer. He was living in a tiny one-room apartment. And it was the middle of a brutal winter, minus 35 degrees outside.
Wow. That is soul-crushingly cold. Just miserable.
He had very little education, no money to speak of, no real prospects. He was sitting there in this cold little room shivering, and he had this massive epiphany.
What was it?
He realized with absolute clarity, no one is coming to save me.
That's a scary moment, a really scary thought.
It is, because as long as you think someone might save you, a rich relative you don't know you have, a government program, some lucky break, you don't have to do anything. You can just wait.
The hope of a rescue is the enemy of action.
Exactly. He realized in that moment that if he wanted his life to change, he had to be the one to change it. He couldn't blame his childhood or the economy or his boss or the weather.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Isn't there a danger in this no excuses mentality? What about systemic issues? What about people who really are dealing with things that are way out of their control? Is Tracy just saying those things don't exist?
That is a critical question, and it's important to be clear on this. Tracy isn't denying that external obstacles exist. He's not saying that structural inequality isn't a real thing.
So what is he saying?
What he's saying is that blaming those things does not solve them for you as an individual. Blame is a dead-end street, psychologically.
So it's a pragmatic stance. It's not necessarily a sociological one.
Correct. It's all about utility. What mindset is useful for you to get ahead? Tracy talks about the psychology of blame. He points out that all negative emotions, anger, resentment, jealousy, you name it, they all require a target.
You have to be mad at someone or something.
You cannot just be angry in a vacuum. You have to be blaming someone or something. And as long as you are blaming, you are giving your personal power away to that object or that person. You are effectively saying, my happiness depends on this external thing changing.
And since you can't control the external thing...
You're stuck. You're paralyzed.
So what's the antidote?
The antidote is a simple but incredibly powerful phrase. Tracy suggests that the very instant you feel angry or resentful, you should immediately say out loud, I am responsible.
Just those 3 words. I am responsible.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But it works based on what he calls the law of substitution.
The law of substitution.
Your conscious mind can only hold one single thought at a time. It is cognitively impossible to accept responsibility and blame someone else at the exact same moment. The 2 thoughts cancel each other out.
So it's like a circuit breaker for negativity.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. When you say, I am responsible, you cut the power to the negative emotion. You instantly shift from victim mode into action mode.
Even if the situation genuinely isn't your fault. Like if your company goes under.
Even then, it might not be your fault that the company went under, but you are 100% responsible for your reaction to it. What are you going to do now? That's the only question that matters.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about when the situation is genuinely disastrous? When worry just completely takes over? It's hard to just chant, I am responsible, when you're in a full-blown panic.
For that, Tracy offers a very tactical tool. He calls it the disaster report. This is specifically for when worry is keeping you up at night.
The disaster report? Okay, how does it work?
It's a 4-step process.
Yep.
Step 1. Define the worry clearly on paper. Write it down. Often, worry is just this vague, foggy cloud in our heads. I'm worried about money. That's too vague. It's not actionable.
So you have to be specific.
You have to write, I am worried I won't be able to make rent this month because I lost the Smith account and I'm short by $800. Clarity kills the ghost.
Okay, that's step 1.
Step 2. Identify the worst possible outcome. If the absolute worst-case scenario happens, what is it? Do you die? Do you go to jail? Usually the honest answer is something like, I have to move into a smaller apartment, or I have to borrow money from my parents and feel embarrassed.
You realize the monster under the bed isn't actually going to eat you.
Exactly. It's unpleasant, but it's survivable. Step 3. Resolve to accept the worst if it happens. Just say to yourself, okay, if I have to move, I will move. I will survive it.
Why is that so important?
This is the magic step. Once you truly accept the worst, the fear loses its power. You stop fighting the possibility, and that frees up all this mental energy.
And then step 4.
Step 4. Begin immediately to improve upon the worst. Do everything in your power to make sure that worst-case scenario doesn't happen. Now you're not worrying anymore. You're working. You have a plan.
I love that progression. It takes you from a state of paralysis to one of productivity, which brings us right to part 2, the mechanics of achievement. We stopped blaming. We're ready to work. But what are we working on?
And this is where most people get lost. They might have the energy. They might have voted themselves off the island, but they have no direction. They're just adrift.
Tracy's obsessed with goals.
Completely. But he cites a statistic that is, frankly, depressing.
Which one is that?
Only 3% of adults have clear, written goals.
3%? That seems incredibly low. Why don't more people write them down? Is it just laziness?
It's partly laziness, I think, but it's mostly fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of failure. If you write a goal down, you are defining success in black and white, which means you are also defining failure. If I don't write it down, if I keep it vague, I can always say, well, I was just exploring my options. I can't fail.
It's a defense mechanism. Keep it vague so you can't be judged, even by yourself.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. That tiny 3% who do have written goals earn more, on average, than the other 97% combined.
Combined. Wow. So why does writing it down have such a huge effect?
Tracy uses the homing pigeon analogy to explain why.
I've never thought of myself as a pigeon before, but okay, go on.
A homing pigeon has this remarkable cybernetic instinct. You can take it out of its home coop, put it in a dark box, put that box in a truck, drive 500 miles in a series of random directions, and then release it.
And it still finds its way home.
It will circle 3 times, get its bearings, and fly in a straight line right back to its coop. It just knows.
So what's the connection to us?
Tracy argues that we humans have a similar success mechanism built into our brains. It's connected to the reticular activating system. But unlike the pigeon, which is genetically programmed for one specific coop, our mechanism needs us to program the destination.
And writing the goal down is the programming code.
Yes. The act of writing it down impresses it upon your subconscious mind. You are telling your brain, this is important, pay attention to this.
And then your brain starts to filter the world differently.
Suddenly, you start noticing things you ignored before. You see an article about your industry you would have skipped. You overhear a conversation in a coffee shop that gives you an idea. You spot an opportunity that was invisible to you yesterday.
Those things were always there.
They were always there, but your brain was filtering them out because it didn't know they were relevant to your coop.
So how do we program the pigeon? He gives a 7-step method. It's very practical.
It's a classic system, very straightforward. Number 1 is to decide exactly what you want. Be specific. Not more money, but $100,000 a year by this date.
Step 2 is to write it down.
Crucial. An unwritten goal is just a wish. Step 3, set a deadline. A goal without a deadline has no urgency. It's just a dream you've put on someday I'll.
Right. And step 4 is to make a list. List all the obstacles you'll have to overcome, the skills you'll need to learn, and the people whose help you'll need.
Step 5, organize that list into a plan. Put it in sequence. What do I do first, second, third?
Step 6, take action immediately on your plan. Do not wait. Do something, anything, right now.
And finally, the most important one, step 7. Do something every single day that moves you towards your major goal.
That do something every day part is where the real discipline lives. But there is a specific exercise he mentions that I want to talk about. It's called mindstorming, and I tried it, and I have to tell you, it was physically painful.
Good. That means it was working. It's supposed to be mental weightlifting. It shouldn't be easy.
So the idea is you write your major goal as a question at the top of a blank page. For example, how can I double my income in the next 12 months?
Right. And then you force yourself to write 20 answers to that question.
20 answers. The number is crucial, he says.
It is.
So when I did this, the first 3 to 5 answers were easy. Work harder, call more clients, raise my rates, obvious stuff.
Those are the answers floating on the surface of your consciousness.
Then I got to about number 10, and I hit a brick wall. I was just staring at the paper. I wanted to check my phone. I wanted to go get a snack. I was actually getting angry at the exercise itself.
That is the feeling of your brain actually working. Most of us spend our days coasting on mental autopilot. We don't really think. We just rearrange our existing prejudices and thoughts.
That's a good way to put it.
Mindstorming forces you to dig deeper, to go into the subconscious. The answers from number 11 to 20 are where the real gold is.
It's absolutely true. My 18th answer was something I had never consciously considered before, and it was probably the single best idea on the entire page.
Tracy says the 20th answer is often the breakthrough that changes your life. But you have to have the discipline to sit there and sweat and push through the pain until you get to it.
So once we have the goal, we have the plan, we need the competence to actually achieve it. And this is where Tracy talks about personal excellence.
He asks you to start viewing yourself as the president of you, Incorporated.
I like that framing.
Even if you're an employee at a huge company, you are essentially self-employed. You are the president of a personal services corporation, and you have one client. Your employer.
And your most valuable asset isn't your house or your car.
No, it's your earning ability, your ability to get results that people will pay you for.
And like any asset, like a machine in a factory, it requires maintenance and upgrading.
If you aren't constantly upgrading your skills, your earning ability is depreciating. You are becoming obsolete in a fast-changing world.
To combat that, he suggests the 3% rule for investing in yourself.
This is so simple and so powerful. If you want to grow, take 3% of your annual income and put it right back into your brain.
So if you make $50,000 a year,
you should be spending $1,500 on yourself. Buy books, take online courses, go to industry seminars, invest in your number one asset.
It can sound like a lot when bills are tight, but he argues the ROI is basically infinite.
It is.
Speaking of infinite ROI, we have to break down the 1000% formula. When I first read this, I thought, okay, this is just some kind of height math. But when you actually break it down, it's terrifyingly logical.
It is the math of compound interest applied to human capability. It's one of the most powerful ideas in the book. Let's walk through it slowly.
Please do.
The basic premise is this. Is it possible for you to become just 0.1% more productive today than you were yesterday?
0.1%. That's 1/1000th. That's tiny. That's typing one email slightly faster or prioritizing one small task a little bit better.
Exactly. It's almost imperceptible. Anyone can do that. It requires almost no effort.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, if you do that every single day, you get just 0.1% better. That compounds. By the end of a 5-day work week, you're 0.5% better.
Still sounds really small.
It is. By the end of the month, you are about 2% better. Still doesn't look like much on a graph. But over a full year, because of the power of compounding, you are 26% more productive.
A 26% increase in output in a year is huge.
Right.
That's enough to get anyone a significant raise or a promotion.
It absolutely is. But here's where the magic really happens. If you keep doing that for 10 years, getting 26% better on top of the previous year's 26%, do you have any idea where you end up?
Okay, lay it on me.
You become 1,004% more productive.
1,000%.
You were literally 10 times better at your job than when you started.
And theoretically, your income should follow that same curve.
It almost always does, or even exceeds it. The top 20% are not working 10 times harder than the bottom 80%. They aren't working 80 hours a day. That's physically impossible.
You're just vastly more capable.
They are more effective because they have compounded their skills over time while everyone else just coasted.
So the big takeaway is, don't try to double your success overnight. That's impossible and leads to burnout. Just try to be 0.1% better today.
And then do it again tomorrow and the next day. And Tracy gives 3 very practical ways to achieve this daily growth.
What are they?
Number 1, read for 60 minutes every single day in your chosen field. That averages out to about 1 book a week. That's 50 books a year.
Wow.
Number 2, listen to educational audio programs in your car. Turn your commute into a university on wheels.
And number 3?
Attend every seminar and course you can. Learn from the experts.
50 books a year. If you actually do that for 5 years, you're in the top 1% of experts in your field. Guaranteed.
You will blow past your competition. It's not even a fair fight at that point. It's inevitable.
Okay, so we have the plan, we have the daily improvement strategy, but then we hit the real world, which brings us to part 3, overcoming obstacles. And the biggest obstacle is never the market or the competition or the economy.
It's always fear.
It's always fear. Fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of looking stupid, fear of rejection.
And Tracy makes a really important distinction here that is key. He says courage is not the absence of fear.
That's a common misconception.
Right. If you have absolutely no fear, you're either crazy or you're not taking any real risks. Courage is the mastery of fear.
Right.
It is acting in spite of the fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
I love his concept of the law of reversibility here. We usually think in one direction. I feel happy, so I smile, or I feel brave, so I go into the fight.
But the connection between the mind and the body is a two-way street. It's a feedback loop.
So you can reverse it.
You can. If you force yourself to smile, even when you're in a bad mood, you actually trigger the release of chemicals in your brain that make you feel happier.
And it works for courage, too.
If you act brave, if you stand up straight, pull your shoulders back, speak loudly and clearly, walk with purpose, you will actually start to feel brave. You can use your body to hack your mind.
Fake it till you make it is actually sound psychological advice.
It really is. It's not about being phony. It's about using your physiology to prime your psychology for success.
Now, for the salespeople listening, or really for anyone who has to ask for something and might get a no, Tracy has this technique that sounds like absolute torture, but it might be genius. The 100 call method.
This is specifically for anyone who is paralyzed by the fear of rejection. Here's the drill. You commit to going out and making 100 cold calls or knocking on 100 doors as fast as you humanly can.
Just churning and burring through them.
But here is the absolute key. You detach completely from the outcome. Your goal is not to make a single sale. Your goal is simply to make the call and get an answer. You are literally just collecting no's.
Why on earth would you want to collect no's?
To desensitize yourself, to build up an immunity. The first time someone hangs up on you or slams a door in your face, it hurts. It feels personal. You want to quit.
Of course.
The 10th time, it stings a little less. But by the time you get to call number 50, You don't care anymore. You've heard every possible insult, every excuse. You become numb to it. It just rolls off your back.
You build up a callus against rejection.
Exactly. And the great irony is, once you stop caring so much, once you lose that stench of desperation, you actually start selling more.
Why is that?
People respond to confidence and non-neediness. And nothing builds that kind of confidence like knowing you have 99 other people to call, so you don't need this one person's approval.
It's the abundance mindset in action. I don't need you, but I'd like to work with you.
That's the iron peg mentality. Tracy says you should be like an iron peg that has been driven deep into frozen ground. You should be immovable in your purpose.
He also talks about the persistence test. This is the idea that the universe or life or whatever you want to call it will test you right before your biggest breakthrough.
And it's never a scheduled test. You can't study for it. It's always a snap quiz.
A snap quiz. I like
Things are going great. You're hitting all your goals. You're feeling on top of the world. Then, bam, your biggest client leaves unexpectedly. Your computer crashes and you lose all your data. A global pandemic hits. That moment, that is the snap quiz.
And that's the moment you find out who you really are.
Exactly. Everyone looks like a winner when the sun is shining and the wind is at their back. Character is revealed in the storm.
So how do you pass the test?
Tracy says that successful people have pre-decided that they will never, ever give up. So when the snap quiz comes, they don't have to waste time and energy thinking about it, feeling sorry for themselves. They just bounce.
It's not how far you fall, but how high you bounce.
That's the whole game.
Let's move to part 4. Applied discipline. How do we take this iron peg mindset and actually apply it in the workplace day to day? Tracy has a formula for work hours that, well, honestly, it might trigger some people today. He calls it the 40-plus formula.
This is where Tracy really separates the workers from the winners, and yes, it is definitely countercultural right now.
What's the formula?
His formula is this. Working 40 hours a week is for survival. Everything over 40 hours is for success.
That is going to ruffle some feathers. We live in an era of quiet quitting and pushing for work-life balance. Tracy is basically saying, no, work more.
He is. He notes that studies of self-made millionaires show the average one works about 59 hours a week, especially in the building phase of their career.
But, and I think this is a huge but, it's not just about the raw number of hours, it's about the density and quality of the work within those hours.
That is the most important part of the equation. He says work all the time you work.
What does he mean by that?
This is his indictment of the modern workplace. He argues that most people, even if they are physically in the office for 8 hours, are not actually working for 8 hours.
Not even close.
They're getting coffee. They're chatting by the water cooler about the game last night. They are scrolling Instagram. They are taking long lunches. They're planning their weekend.
I think the studies on this are pretty shocking. The actual productive, focused time for an average office worker is something like 3 or 4 hours a day.
It's abysmal. So Tracy isn't necessarily saying you need to burn yourself out working 80 hours a week. He's saying when you are on the clock, work. Put your head down and focus with high intensity.
He suggests a personal mantra for this.
Back to work.
Back to work.
Every time you find your mind wandering or someone stops by your desk to gossip, you just smile politely and say, I'd love to chat, but I really have to get back to work. And you physically turn back to your priority task.
He also outlines a schedule for the super ambitious, the people who want to get on the fast track.
The 3-hour advantage.
Ooh, what is that?
Come in 1 hour early before anyone else arrives. Work through your lunch hour, and stay 1 hour late after everyone else has gone home.
Think about that for a second. If you do that consistently, you are adding 3 hours of work to your day. But those aren't just any 3 hours.
No, the hour before everyone gets there. It's pure silence. No phones ringing, no emails flooding in, no interruptions.
The lunch hour, same thing. Silence. The hour after everyone leaves, silence again.
You could probably get more high-quality, deep work done in those 3 silent, focused hours than in the entire chaotic, interruption-filled middle of the day.
And if you do that consistently, you inevitably move into a leadership position because people notice that kind of dedication.
They do. And leadership requires a completely different kind of discipline. Tracy says the primary job of a leader is not doing, but thinking.
Thinking about the future. They need vision, but they also need what he calls role model discipline.
This is the loneliness of leadership that people talk about. He says a leader can never truly let it all hang out.
You can't.
If you are the boss You cannot come into the office and say, I'm terrified we're going to go bankrupt this quarter, or, man, I'm so hungover today I can't think straight.
Why not? Isn't that being authentic?
Because you set the standard for the entire organization. Your team looks to you for cues. If you are disciplined, punctual, and calm under pressure, your team will try to match that energy. If you are chaotic, emotional, and complain all the time, your team will be too. The rot starts at the head.
There is a rule he gives for management that I think is just brilliant. He calls it the golden rule of management.
Treat your employees as if they might one day be your boss.
Which, in the tech world especially, or any fluid industry, is a very real possibility.
That's a real possibility anywhere, and it completely changes how you interact with people. It forces you to treat everyone with dignity and respect. It stops you from being a petty tyrant. It builds incredible loyalty.
Let's touch on sales and business discipline quickly before we get to the money. He mentions the law of competition.
This is the reality check for anyone starting a business. There's never enough money or enough customers for everyone to have as much as they want. It is a competition, always.
So you have to fight.
If you want a customer, you have to take them from someone else or convince them to spend money they were going to spend elsewhere. You have to fight for them every single day.
And once you have them, the goal is to keep them. That's the discipline of service.
The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer, not just to make a profit. Profit is a byproduct of doing that well.
So the true measure of business success
is repeat sales and referrals. That's it.
Yeah.
That tells you you're doing it right.
Finally, we have to talk about the result of all this hard work. The money. This brings us to part 5, financial discipline.
And this is where discipline becomes brutally quantifiable. You can look at a person's bank account and see a direct mathematical reflection of their long-term discipline.
Tracy has a fascinating concept here. He calls it the Pavlovian spending response.
Most of us are conditioned just like Pavlov's dogs, and we don't even realize it.
How does that work?
When we were kids, if we got $1 for our allowance, what was the very first thing we did?
Ran to the candy store.
Ran to the store and bought candy or a comic book. Money equaled immediate pleasure. A bell rang, and we salivated for a purchase.
And as adults, it's the same pattern, just with more expensive toys.
Exactly. Money hits our direct deposit, and the bell rings. We immediately think, what can I buy? We buy clothes, new gadgets, expensive dinners out. We are deeply conditioned to associate spending with happiness and relief.
It's the shopping spree mentality. I had a bad week at work, so I deserve a treat.
Financial discipline is the long, difficult process of rewiring that circuit in your brain. It's about learning to derive pleasure from saving and investing.
So getting a dopamine hit from seeing your investment account grow instead of from buying a new pair of shoes.
Yes, to look at a growing net worth and feel the same sense of satisfaction and security that you used to get from the temporary high of a purchase.
He calls this the transition from being an economic child to an economic adult.
An economic child wants it now. They live for today. An economic adult understands the time value of money. They understand compound interest.
They understand that every dollar they spend today isn't just a dollar.
No, it's actually stealing $10 or $20 from their future self, from the person they will be in 20 or 30 years.
He references the classic book, The Millionaire Next Door.
A foundational text on this subject. That book proved that wealth is often invisible.
Right. You see a guy driving a 10-year-old used car, living in a modest house, wearing a cheap watch.
And he might be a multimillionaire. Then you see the guy in the brand new BMW with the Rolex and the designer suit. And he might be drowning in debt, one paycheck away from disaster.
So wealth is not what you spend, it's what you keep.
Is what you accumulate. And keeping it requires the daily discipline to say no to the shiny object. To say no to keeping up with the Joneses.
And you have to do it repeatedly, for decades.
That's the game.
So we've covered the psychology, the goals, the fear, the work habits, and the money. It really is a complete ecosystem of discipline.
And it all follows what Tracy calls the law of accumulation.
Which brings us to the end. What is the law of accumulation?
It's a very simple but profound idea. It means that everything counts. No effort is ever lost.
Everything adds up.
Every single time you chose to read that book instead of watching TV, every time you made that one extra call when you were tired, every time you saved that extra dollar instead of spending it, it didn't just disappear into the void.
It accumulated.
It accumulated. It built a foundation. It added one more brick to the wall of your character and your success.
And the ultimate reward for all of this.
The ultimate reward isn't just the money. The money is nice. The success is nice, but the real reward is the person you become in the process.
You become a person of substance.
A person of substance.
Yeah.
A person who can look at their life and say with complete honesty, I built this. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
You become the iron peg.
You become the iron peg. Unshakable.
That is a powerful place to leave it. We've thrown a ton of information at you today. The 1000% formula, the 100-call method, the disaster report.
Please do not try to do it all at once. That's a surefire recipe for failure and burnout.
Pick one. Just pick one area where you are currently living on someday I'll. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's a skill you want to learn.
And just apply the no excuses rule to that one area, starting today.
Vote yourself off the island.
Take the first step.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time. Now,
Back to work.
back to work. See ya.